So yes, we are going to, we're going to start that project today. Okay, I don't want to be saying this 3 or 4 times. All right. So we're going to start it today, and then we will continue it next week. We're not quite going to get it finished because uh, I'm thinking on maybe we don't need any more review time. Would we be ready to go on Tuesday? I had it in my mind would be exams on Wednesday and Thursday and continue this on Friday. Like I said, we're not going to get it finished this week, but we would certainly continue that. All right. Now, so if we remember, what do you think this project entails? Yeah, you're going to make an arch. Okay. So what that means is as follows. You're going to take this material. I'm recording this so those that are gone can kind of pick themselves up to speed. You're just starting with just a blank piece of wood like this. These are all blanks. Some of them are various widths and lengths, but that'll be fine. But what you're going to do then is you please be sure that you grab these short dowels in groups of 3, whether it's a 1-inch wooden dowel or a 3/4 inch PVC tubing. If you grab this first, get 2 more chunks of PVC tubing. If you grab this first, get 2 more chunks of 1-inch dowels. Okay, whatever you want to call these, tubing, dowels, whichever. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to design your precast mold today. And what that would entail, for instance, I'm not going to hold this up on the board, but just picture, here's your piece of lumber right here on the board. Actually, I'll use this one because it's a little bigger. Okay, so here's your rectangle. All right, so just picture that piece of lumber is on there. And what did we say, whether it was, I don't think it was yesterday, but maybe on, well, it wouldn't have been yesterday, we were gone, either Monday or Tuesday. When you need to bend different pieces of lumber, what is it that you need to do first? Because if you don't do this, you bend it, it's going to recoil back into its original state. We got to do what with it? You got to put steam into it. You got to force that steam into the wood. Okay? So actually, I should have done this last time. I've got some of these tongue depressors. I just didn't get them out. Guess what? Okay, so what you're doing is working with these tongue depressors, and notice that when you bend them, it just goes back and recoils to its original. There might be a little bit in there, but it's not bending to the structure that what you would want. So when we talked about forces, what the Romans had engineered was the what? The arch. Okay. So in order to do that, to make an arch out of this, you have to be able to bend it and allow it to retain its shape. So there's a whole bunch of these in the sterilizer that's forcing that steam inside of the cellulose material inside this wood. Okay, so that once you bend it, it'll do it very easily, but unless you want to stand here and hold that for 24 hours or more, it's just going to recoil back to its original state, which would be straight. So here's your piece of wood with your tubing or your dowels. You're going to mark on that wood. After you take it out and sterilize, you'll be able to bend it. You're going to want to design your precast, which would mean you'd have to have, excuse me, probably a hole drilled here. And then what that allows you to do is stick that tubing into here. So then it'll actually hold it there. Where do you think your next one would be? Okay, so we're holding it like this. You want to be able to bend that. So do you need one on the right side again? Yes, you would. So you'd have one here, and then as you bend that over, you would maybe mark another one about right here. Okay. Oops, I did that wrong. I went too high. We got to have a one that's in there lower first. Okay. So as you're bending that, you would want one on the inside. So maybe about right here. And then to bend around that top one, then you put another one in about right there. You're marking the holes, okay, on your piece of wood here. One goes there, one goes there, and one would go about right there. And then what you would do is your tongue depressor here, you would set right inside of there, and then that'll make it keep its shape over the next day. Well, today's Thursday. You won't see this again till next Tuesday. But what happens is we're just designing the bottom portion. I only have about 12 of those tongue depressors in there. This is just to set your precast, okay? Because next week you're going to have these marked and drilled on the bottom and on the top. You'd have to have two of those. So they would be, for instance, straight across from one another. What that means is it would look like this. Okay? So just picture, here's your wood like this, and you got them drilled in these, or marked in those associated areas. And then, how do you think you can make sure that you have the hole drilled in the exact same spot on both pieces? What do you suppose you would do with these two? You're going to clamp them together. Maybe take some 1 1/4" wood screws and screw them together so then, again, it can't move. So then when you drill through this piece, it's going to also put the hole in the corresponding spot in the second one. So I would say don't do one of these where, let's see, I need some varying lengths here. I just eyeballed these to get them about the same length, and didn't think I could get that close. Here we go. Don't do one of these. Does anyone think they can see what's wrong with this picture? Which is fine, but how do you suppose you would compensate for that? What does flush mean? Okay, flat surface. I mean, if you have two different sizes, that's fine as long as it's flush on the bottom. Maybe set it down on the table. Get them set down like this. So now you got two flush sides. So that way, when you set this down, it's going to stay standing up. Or if you set it like this, you can do that as well. Okay, so I went through that really, really fast. questions? Or is we maybe not know what to ask? Okay, I know we've got 19 people in here, so we're going to have 8 groups of 2 and maybe a group of 3. I think that makes 19, right? 8 times 2 is 16 plus 3 is 19. Oh, that growing up in Iowa, that math is really coming in handy now. Do we know who we would want to work together with? Okay, so what the end result is going to be, how many sides of an arch are you putting into this precast? Because you said you take 2 sides. This is only 1/2 of it. So what happens is once you pull these out, there's maybe one, then maybe there's the other. So why is there a gap in there? You need the keystone. What does the keystone do to an arch? Yeah, it locks it in place. And what that looks like is, I don't have one now, but it kind of looks like this. And you put them into a groove, and that locks the arch together. Okay? Some students choose to have maybe just a little slight of an angle. Others have done that before. This is your design. You choose how you want to design your arch. Okay? Maybe you want even, like I said, that's a pretty drastic angle. But I wouldn't suggest doing something like that. That's probably not going to hold much, because how we test these is we take two plates of plywood, and I'm not a very good drawer, as you can tell, but what we do is as follows. Here is the bottom piece. Let's see here. I'm trying to do this in 3 dimensions and it's not working. I guess you could say we're looking at it on the side. Okay, there's the top piece, or bottom piece, there's the top. So it would be something about like, here's the bottom piece that sits in like this, and then we have longer dowels that you would set in here. Here's the bottom, here's the top, and this gets forced down. We put weights on there, and this gets pushed further and further down until the arch collapses. And what we want to do is kind of like a strength to weight ratio. Something that is a really, really lightweight, but yet extremely what? Strong. So we study the amount of force that these can actually take before it structurally fails. Okay? So, any questions? Okay? So what we will do